In the first part of this module, we discussed the theory behind the universal design for learning. If you're here for the second part, we can take it for granted that just like me, you are ready to go from being an observer to a traveler. To start with, let's understand that this module has some restrictions. This module is not meant to be a comprehensive guide to implementing a UDL, since it is impossible for any teacher to change his or her habits in just one day. On the other hand, when we have a good understanding of our students, it is possible to take the first steps toward making changes to our planning, which will, in turn, help them in the long run. For those of you who are seasoned explorers or backpackers, you will recognize some of the paths we will take. And if they do not necessarily lead you to discover something entirely new, stay with us anyways. It is quite possible that our guided tour will help you find a better understanding of the importance and utility of these changes that we all face with our diversity of learners.
Planning and universal design for learning. For this excursion into the world of UDL, we are going to take the path of flexibility and inclusion, the second key concept of this process. The purpose of this is to provide a framework made up of 3 parts. There are many adaptive measures that can be included in the framework so that learners are engaged and the purpose of the plan can be developed and well utilized.
I totally agree. But in order to achieve this goal, we have to rely on the students' engagement and understanding of the task. I wouldn't mind some help with this.
Let's start with the preparation. When we start a course, we often skip certain things because certain elements are so clear to us. But preparation is a crucial step. The following are 4 essential means that allow learners to improve their learning by developing organization and self-monitoring of what they learn. Setting the context. This introduction to the course serves to motivate the learners. It helps them to become engaged in what they will be learning by piquing their curiosity and interest. Goal setting. Making the goal or objective of the course clear allows the learners to know the purpose or goal of the course and heightens their engagement in the process. This also allows the learners to know why the notion being taught is important in terms of the rest of the course. Course plan. Sometimes those students whose level of attention and concentration is lower lose the thread of what is being taught. Keeping course content available to the learners and updated by crossing out or highlighting what has been completed allows them to meet and to better monitor their own learning progress. In addition, doing this helps make sequential learners feel more secure, since these learners learn best when they can reference stages of completion. Reference to prior knowledge. Referencing prior knowledge helps the learner identify if something new or a follow-up is being taught. If it is a follow-up, it is important to situate the learners by reminding them about when and what was previously taught. For learners whose retention might be low, this allows them to access or retrieve the information. In addition, questioning is an excellent means of recalling prior knowledge because questioning allows us to find out what has been retained and what is important to review before continuing. Production. When it comes to planning the production, it is important to take the time to stop and focus on breaking up the process into 20-minute units.
As far as this is concerned, I must say that, like many others, I have come to the realization that it tends to be useless to give long lectures or simply require learners to complete a barrage of exercises.
Indeed, this tends to create cognitive overload or withdrawal or disengagement, and is a waste of time. So we should note the following principles. Vary the pedagogical techniques. Winning conditions for keeping learners active and thus motivated can be established by providing multiple means of representation or varying pedagogical techniques. For example, with direct or explicit teaching, we begin with a lecture. Next comes a demonstration, modeling what they will do. Then comes guided experimentation. Finally, the learners are asked to follow the model to accomplish the task. These 4 blocks would cover a period of 60 to 90 minutes. It is important to encourage the metacognitive process with our students. This is what we are thinking as an exercise is being done. Doing this helps them to see the challenges and processes that they are engaged in as they learn. Provide visual support. When a learner has to process a lot of information, it is best to use presentation modes that appeal to more than one sense. Therefore, if learners can see at the same time they hear or manipulate at the same time as a demonstration, their understanding is much greater. Experimentation takes on full meaning when we take into consideration that we retain 90% of what we live. Provide for enrichment. When planning a lesson for a 3-hour period, for example, we must not forget that part of the group will be able to complete the tasks more quickly. For this reason, it is essential to foresee enrichment. This can take the form of an additional exercise or a challenge related to the learning. This will allow this group of learners to keep engaged and motivated, reducing their need for attention and allowing more time for meeting the needs of those students at risk or in difficulty. Integration. Taking the time to synthesize new information and work is crucial for learners. This allows them to organize the information by creating an overall picture or representation and to ask questions relevant to points that need clarification. This also promotes a sense of accomplishment since the learner stops to reflect on his or her progress.
What are the elements of good synthesis?
Here are 2. Overall representation of information. This overall representation can be done on 2 levels. The first is to highlight the connections among the concepts covered in a given class. The second is to expand the connections to include what has been taught before. C-maps are excellent for involving the students as well. Creating an overall presentation forces students who are sequential learners to reflect on the connections to and from what they have learned, rather than relying on rote learning or any other process for which they have no true comprehension. Evaluation as an aid to learning. Learners need to be given opportunity to assess their strengths and weaknesses. They can be asked to identify the strategies, procedures, and steps they have taken. This also allows the teacher to compile information to help identify what needs to be reviewed or enriched during another class. This process allows for adjustment, not only of the learning process, but of the teaching process as well.
I provide many other options like group note-taking, closed notes, concise directions, time-lapse, etc. Should I keep on providing these options?
There are obviously many options that provide flexibility and enhance understanding and engagement. But experience has shown us that it is best to travel light when setting out to explore a new country. We'll stop here so that we don't overload our suitcases or our cognition. And for our well-seasoned sailors, you will be happy to know that the UDL offers many opportunities for a change of scenery in terms of its many means of representation, behavior, expression, and participation. But that's for our next voyage.